Indian-born novelist Salman Rushdie was attacked on stage at an event in New York. He was stabbed as he was just about to deliver a lecture. Now, according to reports, a man stormed the stage, began punching and stabbing Rushdie, who was being introduced at the event. The attacker has also been arrested.
Salman Rushdie, the Indian-born novelist, was attacked on stage at an event in New York. Rushdie was stabbed as he was about to deliver a lecture at the Chautauqua institution. According to reports, a man stormed the stage and began punching and stabbing Rushdie, who was being introduced at the event. The attacker was later restrained and taken into custody by the police. The authorities have identified Rushdie's attacker as 24-year-old New Jersey-based Hadi Matar.
Like I said, it's very early. We don't have any indication of a motive at this time, but we are working with the FBI, the Sheriff's Office, and we will determine what the cause of this was or what the motive for this attack was.
The author, who collapsed on the floor, suffered a stab wound on the neck, according to New York State Police. Rushdie was later airlifted to the hospital by a medical helicopter.
He's getting the care he needs at a local hospital. We'll be giving more information on the identity of the perpetrator and the case that will be brought in that part of the state. We are undeterred in our commitment to make sure that we call it out, we condemn what happened, we condemn all violence, and we want people to feel that freedom to speak and to write truth.
Salman Rushdie rose to prominence with his Booker Prize winner 1981 novel Midnight's Children. The book narrates the story of Salim, the protagonist, who was born when India got independence. Rushdie incidentally turned 75 this year. Rushdie, however, became a household name across the world after his controversial fourth novel, The Satanic Verses. The book triggered protests by Muslims who considered it blasphemous because of its take on Islam and the Prophet. The book has been banned in many countries, including India. A fatwa to kill Rushdie was issued by the late Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Despite being targeted for his words and writing for decades, Salman Rushdie has never flinched nor faltered.
I would have written, I'm very proud of that book, you know. I think there are a lot of people who really like that book, including, I have to say, a lot of Muslim readers. You know, it's not like there's a unanimity about this book, even inside the Muslim community. And it seems to me that the people who like this book have rights which are equal to the rights of the people who don't like it. You know? And so, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine my work without Midnight's Children. I can't imagine it without the Satanic Verses.
Bureau Report, India Today.
And let me introduce on this broadcast Wasik, academic writer on extremism and terrorism, who's joining us on this broadcast. What's happened, Mr. Wasik, to Salman Rushdie has, I think, shocked the entire world. And while we all give our condemnations and, you know, react to this, what beyond this incident? How do we learn from this particular incident of extremism and intolerance?
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I think the first thing that we need to establish is that what has transpired against Salman Rushdie is that a fatwa that was issued by Ayatollah Khomeini still is live till today. And it seems that this individual who has taken, who has tried to, or attempted to take away Salman Rushdie's life has been influenced by this fatwa. That still remains to be seen because the motive is still ongoing. But in terms of learning lessons, what we need to learn is, especially in the West, is that freedom of speech, freedom of expression should be protected at all times. Salman Rushdie, for the last 30 years, has been under threat against these death threats that are being made to him because he wrote a book that many Muslims consider blasphemous.
You know, Wasik, if you look at what's really happened, is it a lack of acknowledgement of this kind of extremism that led to an attack? on Rushdie, because he's faced these threats for years together. It's culminated in this horrifying incident that's happened in New York.
Yeah, I think there is a lack of acknowledgement of what's taking place, especially in the West. Let's take Britain, where I'm based. We've seen over the years where de facto blasphemy laws are being introduced through the back door. So, for example, a teacher at a prominent grammar school has gone into hiding because he showed a caricature of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, in the West, unlike in some Eastern countries, we don't actually have blasphemy laws. And the fact that this is taking place, despite us not having blasphemy laws, is actually scandalous.
You know, what I also want to talk about here is the provocation that leads to these kind of attacks, that perhaps, you know, the world didn't back Salman Rushdie enough and his right to expression, Wasiq, that led to something like this. And in some cases, of course, is religious extremism, but also secularists perhaps were guilty of this.
No, I don't think we should be placing the blame on secularists, because at the end of the day, freedom of expression and belief is a principle that we hold dear for us in the West. We should be free to believe what we want and to be able to say what we want, providing it's within the law. Now, the blame should be directly placed on the people who are hurt and want to do something about it. And in this case, the perpetrator, Hadi Matar, appears to be the one who is guilty of this. Salman Rushdie should not take any responsibility for this, nor should secularists.
And you know what's shocking is that the man here, the suspect, is a 24-year-old. That perhaps should be as eye-opening as it gets for all of us. Thanks very much, Wasiq, for taking the time out and joining us here on India Today.
No problem.
Let's get you all the reactions that have come in so far. Several condemnations of that stabbing attack on Salman Rushdie in New York. The U.S. National Security Advisor James Sullivan said the attempt on the life of Salman Rushdie is appalling and reprehensible, while French President Emmanuel Macron termed it a cowardly attack by the forces of hatred and barbarism, and also extended support to Rushdie. UK's outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he's appalled that Rushdie has been stabbed while exercising a right that we, according to him, and I quote here, should never cease to defend. Salman Rushdie, whose writings made him the target of Iranian death threats that forced him into hiding, was attacked on a stage at an event in New York. He's currently on ventilator, is likely to lose one eye.